guess it all started out as a mild curiosity in the junkyard.
There are some corners of the universe which have meant the most terrible things. Always remember, of course, not to reverse the polarity of the neutron. It seems at a moment to listen. Decision. No more experience. Excuse me, do you know what parts in I'm saying? I always read the instruction. Kidneys! How can you kidneys? Would you like a jelly baby? Chub!
Welcome to episode 236 of Doctor Who Time and Space, a weekly Doctor Who podcast starring me, Lewis Moon.
And me, Dr. Cool.
So we're back once again. We must apologise. There may be a little less sound quality in terms of sort of the quality of sound you may be receiving this week. But
we're moving around a little bit, aren't we? So you may have noticed, for those of you that are regular listeners, you may have noticed two things. Firstly, it's a Wednesday and we normally broadcast on a Saturday.
Yep.
And if you're listening directly on YouTube, you're probably thinking, well, you're not normally here anyway. Because we normally do it directly onto Podomatic.
So we will upload this to Podomatic eventually, but we are doing this on YouTube live streams now, and we're here for you this Wednesday evening.
Yeah, we've got to keep it quite short today. We've only got a short amount of time, so we're probably going to be about a 45-minute show, I think.
I think it will be about the length of a Doctor Who story until the new formats come along.
So what do we have on this Swift show?
So today we will be discussing story arcs and all about what the best story arcs are and what and sort of the importance of story arcs are and everything like that.
We'll be doing a review of the long game, not the one that they're expecting, which was
Mordrin Undead.
But we'll explain that later.
Yeah, we'll explain that when we come to the review. We'll be discussing the latest news and views.
And we'll be glad to be here.
Yeah, we won't be pressing the magic randomizer, so we already have an episode to watch on next week's show, or indeed this weekend's show, as you could possibly say.
So should we crack straight on with the news?
Yeah, let's crack straight on with the news, because we don't have much time left, so let's do this. So the news is a weekly part of the show, which we like to pretty much start off the show with. And we like to discuss all that's happened in the Doctor Who universe, both in the TV series and in audios and merchandise and all sorts of things. It's starting to be a good time in news because it's nearing Christmas and we're getting a lot about Series 11 as it's starting to film. This week we've got a lot of stuff from Big Finish, but quite a few very interesting announcements that we've got over the last week.
Okay.
So
fire away with them.
I may say that we won't have any news that's been received after Saturday. So because we'll discuss that on episode 237.
Well, not even just big news.
Well, there's no absolutely big news.
Okay, that's fair enough.
So,
okay. Let's lay that old news on us.
Yes. So coming soon from the worlds of Doctor Who, Jenny, the Doctor's daughter. She's back, and the universe better be ready for her. Georgia Tennant Nee Moffat returns to the worlds of Doctor Who in Jenny, the Doctor's Daughter. 4 new adventures from Big Finish, made in arrangement with BBC Worldwide. Jenny originally featured in the Doctor Who television episode The Doctor's Daughter from Series 4 back in 2008. I'm so thrilled to be joining forces with Big Finish to bring Jenny back, Georgia tells us. As we head into the 21st century, finally a female Time Lord in charge of her own spaceship. Oh, wait. So that must have been before Jodie Whittaker was cast as the Doctor.
It'll be that she's going to beat her to it, isn't she, presumably?
Yep. Yeah.
When's this due to come out?
So there's going to be 4 stories. Stolen Goods by Matt Prisoner of the Ood by John Dorney.
Yeah.
Neon Rain by Christian Brassington.
Yeah.
And Zero Space by Adrian Poynton.
Okay.
Jenny, the Doctor's daughter, is available for pre-order for its release in June 2018. So yes, she will just beat Jenny, Jodie to the wrong.
Just beat Jodie to it.
And those are at £23 on CD and £20 on download. And you can purchase it with a special bundle with the Diary of River Song Series 4 and Series 5, which we'll be discussing about later on in the show.
Okay, well, presumably River Song's been floating around the universe. She's a female Time Lord.
She has, yes, and we've got
Maybe
some
she does
news
some
about
TARDIS.
River Song in a second. But
Okay, we'll crack on with the next bit of news.
can I just ask for your quick thoughts on that?
I think it's quite a good story to have. I mean, I think I mentioned at the time when Jodie was announced as the Doctor that my preference would have been to have gone for another strong female Time Lord rather than change the sex of the Doctor. But there's just a personal preference.
That's a good opinion.
Yeah,
Dr. Cool. Yeah. So River Song is going to return next year, and she'll be back again and again. So as you know, I think we discussed last week, maybe the week before, Alex Kingston is going to unite with Peter Davison's Doctor and Madame Kavarian as well, who she'll be pitted against, once again, played by Frances Barber. So the 5th Doctor will come against Diary of River Song in January 2018. The action-packed box set will contain 4-hour-long adventures where the Doctor's wife, archaeologist, crack shop with an intoxicating kiss, and time traveller will have to face the demons of the past, present, and future. And today, the synopsis, this week, the synopsises have been released. You can go to the Big Finish website to check out those synopsises for A Requiem for the Doctor, The Lady in the Lake, My Dinner with Andrew, and The Furries. And in Series 4, they've announced River Song will be encountering the 4th Doctor, played by Tom Baker. More details on the series will be announced in the future.
Interesting.
So it'll be great to see Tom Baker and Alex Kingston.
What I want to know, though, I think I might have said this last time you mentioned it.
Yeah.
I want to know whether River Song meets the Furies or the Furries, because it's quite different. What does it spell?
F-U-R-I-E-S.
I reckon that's Furies.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I pronounced it wrong. So to celebrate, you can pre-order each series of Diary of River Song at £23 on CD or £20 on download. How can that be celebrating? It's basically just the same price as always. Or you could pre-order some of these releases in a bundle. Pre-order Series 4 out August 2018 and Series 5 out January 2019 of the Diary of River Song from today, this week at £45 on CD or £40 on download. Don't forget that all CD purchases unlock a download exclusive from the Big Finish app and the Big Finish website. So
what do you try to do when you buy your Big Finish? Do you tend to go for CDs or downloads?
I've got a few CDs here that are right next to me in my room, and I just think I go for downloads now because they're so great, and you can access them on any computer or tablet if you just log in, and they're much cheaper as well. And most of the stories I listen to are the early ones, the first 100, and they're all available for £2.99 on download, as we are sponsored by Big Finish, as you know, last week. A final bit of Big Finish related news coming up next. I forgot to say, do you think River Song will encounter next like people like David Tennant again, or do you think like she will meet doctors like the 3rd Doctor that we haven't that are played by Tim Treloar and actors who don't actually play them?
Yeah, I think they might mess around with that. I still struggle with the whole concept of that because I know we had all this timey-wimey stuff, the time running in opposite directions, but I can't work out how they would have met her.
They explain it in the box set probably,
but it's difficult to understand why David Tennant's Doctor wouldn't have remembered her.
True, yeah. But we have... Oh, yeah, true. That is true.
But
maybe there's a mind wipe thing or the timey-wimey thing.
Oh, that mind wipe thing, it's happened again. Third Doctor. What happened to your fourth incarnation? Right, what other news do we have?
Lala Ward, Louise Jameson and Sophie Aldred are joined by Derek Jacobi in the depths of the Time War for this new chapter of Gallifrey. Hot on the heels of the 8th Doctor in the Time War with Paul McGann and Raki Thakrar, we take a look at this highly anticipated forthcoming release where you can see the Time War from the front lines. Out in February 2018, 4 new chapters from Gallifrey's history will emerge, comprising of Celestial Intervention by David Llewellyn, Soldier Obscura by Tim Foley, The Devil You Know by Scott Hancock, and Desperate Measures by Matt Bitton. And we can confirm that joining President Romana de Vortrelanda, Leela, Ace, Narvin, and Braxingdale will be the War Master, played by Derek Jacobi. But to find out how he's involved in the Time War, you'll have to listen to the box set in February. Cheeky.
Ooh.
Director and writer. Oh no, let's skip that bit. Gallifrey Time War is available to pre-order from the Big Finish website for £23 on CD or £20 as a download. Don't forget that all CD purchases unlock a download exclusive in the Big Finish app.
I just can't get over the speed that they churn these things out.
I know they release so much, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
It's stunning, but we get to see the War Master, played by Derek Jacobi, and a lot more stories over the next year.
Yeah.
David Bradley has said that he would bite the BBC's hands off, literally, to return to Doctor Who. So Doctor Who fans around the world were delighted when it was revealed that this summer that David Bradley was returning to the sci-fi franchise. The veteran actor stepping back into the costume of the first Doctor, having previously played the character's original actor, William Hartnell, in 2013 for upcoming Christmas special Twice Upon a Time. And now it turns out that Bradley is keen to keep on coming back to the Whoniverse, with the Game of Thrones and Harry Potter star telling RadioTimes.com of his fervent desire for more TARDIS trips in the future, even after the festive episode airs this December. If they ask me, yes, I'd bite their hand off, Bradley told us behind the scenes at MCM London Comic Con, where he's appearing with Adventure in Space and Time star Claudia Grant. I think it would be fun. So far, I'm very happy to have been involved in both Who and an Adventure in Space and Time. It's quite something you would never expect in your career, something you watched when you were young and never imagined you'd be involved in something so iconic. As I say, it's a late treat. If someone wanted to do that, I'd be very interested, yeah, of course. And he says the Christmas special is something I'll treasure. Okay.
What's your feelings on that? Would you rather it was a one-off, or would you like to see David return again?
I think it would be good as a one-off because it's very special.
Yeah.
And then we've got those audios coming, haven't we? With,
of course, yeah.
With the first Doctor. So
yeah.
I think that gives him enough chance to sort of shine in the universe.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
I'm looking forward to those.
It's an interesting concept, really, isn't it? Because the whole fact that with Doctor Who, they kept the character alive by introducing regenerations, and now what they've introduced is another layer of that, where they keep each regeneration alive through having some other actor playing the original actor.
Would you ever like, say, Reece Shearsmith or someone else to play, say, the second Doctor or the third Doctor?
They potentially they could do, couldn't they?
Yeah.
But it's interesting, isn't it? Because they could have taken, the BBC could have, back when, I can't remember which year William Hartnell left Doctor
1966.
But they could have taken the decision right back then that they just keep the same character and replace the actor.
Yeah. Why didn't they say what's his name, Peter Cushing into the role or something? Because he'd already started it.
But they could have done that, but they made a conscious decision not to. So it's quite an interesting thing that now you're seeing other actors playing actors.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
But we don't want to ruin the characters, and
No.
we don't want to say David Bradley's better as William Hartnell. We just want to say we love the first Doctor.
Yeah. No.
So.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, Bernard Cribbins says he would love to travel with Jodie Whittaker's Doctor. The news that Jodie Whittaker had been cast as Doctor Who's next lead swept around the world this summer, with the first female Doctor making headlines and charging conversations across the globe. However, one fairly important figure from the sci-fi series' past had actually missed the news entirely, with former Who star Bernard Cribbins, who played Wilfred Mott, grandfather of Catherine Tate's Donna Noble from 2007 to 2010, revealing at an MCM London Comic Con panel earlier today that he was none the wiser about the next Doctor. The next Doctor Who? I haven't heard anything about this. Truly, I didn't know anything about it. I thought they were going to have a lady, weren't they? Oh, they are having one. You see, I'm out of touch with it, really. I think he said that, I think it's good. I think it's great that a lady's going to do it, the 88-year-old actor said. I really do.
Does Bernard Cribbins live on the moon or something?
I don't know. How did he not?
To avoid it.
How did nobody say to him, "Oh, Bernard, what are your thoughts on the next Doctor?"
Yeah. He must just live in complete isolation of everything else in like a bubble.
Yeah, somewhere on Saturn or something. I think it's good because we've had a lot of gentlemen and they've all been successful. But you know, I think our lady might give it another kick again. Great, super. And in fact, Cribbins was so keen on the idea that he thought it might even be a way to get his character Wilf back in the action. He was a very caring, kind, compassionate man, you know. I loved him. He was great. I'd love to do Wilf again. Somebody have a word. I'll be on to look after that young lady is about to start. Alas, it seems Jodie Whittaker's TARDIS is quite full already, but you never know. Maybe they could squeeze Wilf in for a quick reunion. That'd be nice.
Yeah, no, he's a lovely character, wasn't he? Poor guy, he had to have Donna as a granddaughter. So.
Yes, and as you may know, if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, Deacle is not the biggest fan of Donna Noble.
No.
One of the great pioneering television directors of her generation, Paddy Russell, has died at the age of 89. In 1963, she became a director, directing many episodes of the soap opera Compact. Over the next 20 years, she worked on many of the best-known classic television series. Her first encounter with Doctor Who came in 1966 when she became the first female director to work in the show and one of only 10 female directors to ever have the helm to the show. So far, yeah, but I guess there'll be quite a few more over the next few years.
Yeah.
She helmed the first Doctor story, The Massacre of St. Bartholomew's Eve. When in Vantage, the newest Doctor director had, when faced with the notoriously irascible William Hartnell, was the fact that for the majority of the story, he was not playing the Doctor, but another character, the Abbot of Amboise, she told Doctor Who magazine. It was 8 years later that Russell returned to the show, working on the six-parter John Pertwee story, one of our favourites, Invasion of the Dinosaurs. It was a story fraught with technical difficulties in the attempt to bring dinosaurs to London using the primitive methods available in the early 1970s. While not always successful, it was a story that Russell was very proud of. Two more stories followed, both starring the fourth Doctor, Tom Baker. In 1975, she directed the fan favourite Pyramids of Mars, followed in 1977 by The Horror of Fang Rock. She had a prickly relationship with the lead actor, whom she found increasingly difficult to work with. During her long career, Paddy Russell also worked on The Newcomers, Little Women, Fathers and Sons, The Mean Stone, My Old Man, Zed Cars, Within These Walls, 321 and Emmerdale. Paddy Russell died earlier on this week, so R.I.P. Paddy.
She did some cracking episodes, didn't she?
She did do some fantastic episodes. So some brilliant episodes. So
yeah.
I know we've got a few more pieces of news that I already know about, but obviously We haven't got that right now.
We're going to save those for Saturday, are we?
Yes, we're going to save those for Saturday's show.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay, so
moving swiftly.
So let's move swiftly on to the next section of our show, which is going to be a feature all around the concept of story arcs. Story arcs are a thing in Doctor Who which are often fairly controversial. Well, not controversial, but sort of there's been a lot of arguments over story arcs, and I think it's a very interesting topic.
Yeah.
And they've been in most series of the show. Some series have had really light story arcs. Some series have had really heavy story arcs. Some series have had fantastic story arcs. And some series have had dreadful story arcs.
Yeah.
We're probably going to do a too good, too bad on this later on.
A what?
Yeah.
Didn't do what?
We're going. Oh, that's
That didn't work well, did
no,
it?
it didn't. We're going to do a too good, too bad later on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So what did you want to do? Just talk generally about what makes a good one and what makes a bad one?
Yeah, go on. What do you think makes a good Doctor Who story arc?
I mean, essentially, throughout the Who era, we've had a limited number of story arcs, haven't we? We've had it's become a big thing with New Who, probably less of a thing with old classic Who. I mean, you had the one around the Keys of Time, you had the one on the Trial of the Time Lord. Aside from that,
you had the E-Space trilogy.
Okay.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, so you may have had a trilogy, but not really a story arc as such. I guess you had the whole idea of John Pertwee's Doctor being stranded on Earth. Which
I suppose
you could
so.
say was an arc, but it's pushing it a little bit, isn't it? So it's really a New Who phenomenon.
Yeah.
What makes a good one? I think, well, effectively, one where it keeps you engaged in that story arc throughout the whole of the series.
I think it's good when it always surrounds a mystery about a person or a thing that appears throughout the series that you're going, who is that? They're really intriguing me. This is really intriguing me. I want to find out what it is, and then not ruin it in episode 6 of the series.
Yeah. Going straight to Too Good, Too Bad.
We better do, because that usually starts off the conversation.
Okay, all right. So when we talk about two good things and two bad things about any given subject, this time story arcs. Two good things, one good thing from you and one good thing from me. Because some things are too good and some things are too bad.
Yes, okay. Do you want to go first or should I?
I can go first if you like.
Okay, go on.
I think a good story arc.
Oh, are we doing it in what makes a good story arc or two good story arcs?
I think we should do two good story arcs, two bad story arcs.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm going to say it wasn't necessarily the best series by any means, but I liked the story arc around the Silence.
Okay, yeah. I think it's my least favourite series of New Who, but I would agree that it was a very good story arc.
Yeah, I think the whole concept, the first episode where the Doctor was shot.
Yeah, I loved the first episode.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
That wasn't then resolved to the finale.
No.
So I think it did what I think it needs to do, which is it kept your interest. You were always wondering what happened because it kept referring back to the fact that Amy and Rory knew that the Doctor was going to die sooner or later.
Yeah, true.
So I think that's my good.
Yeah. I think that was quite a good story arc. I think the series and the episodes weren't very strong because there were a lot of meh episodes and a few bad ones, but there were also some great ones in there. And, it was a rather interesting story arc and the silence of one of the most notable new monster creations of the revival.
Yeah. That said, the finale, the last episode, is a bit weak.
Oh yeah, we watched it a few
but there's some
weeks ago,
strong, but the actual idea, the concept of it, I quite like.
Yeah, I would agree with you now.
Yeah,
it's got a good concept. That's the problem with most stories. It's got a good concept, but they don't execute it very well.
So what's your good?
My good would be I think I'm gonna have to go for the Missy story arc. I really enjoyed the Missy story arc. It was quite a good series, I think. I thought it was a rather interesting series. And it was a big change in the series, and it wasn't the best of New Who, but it definitely was nowhere near the least, nowhere near the worst. So I think Missy was one of those story arcs where you were going each episode, who is this? Although a lot of people had guessed that it was probably the Master, it added something new to the story arc every episode. And I think the way it was sort of resolved in particularly the first part of the two-part finale, Dark Water, it was really well carried off, and I think the reveal even was not spoiled by any like actual rumors, because Stephen Moffat actually wrote something saying it was the Rani in one of the scripts or something.
I actually I've forgotten about the Missy one actually when I was thinking it through off the top of my head. The best series of New Who as well. I
think it was a fantastic one. I have actually got a list of all of my favourite New Who series on here, and let's see, series 8 comes so about halfway in my series list. But
yeah.
Okay, so what's your bad of the story arcs? In your opinion?
Bad. To be honest, I actually often find that I'm not really a big lover of the story arcs, and I find that the New Who story arcs are often a little bit weak. I know a lot of people like it. You might like it as well. A lot of people like the Bad Wolf one. I am not a big lover of that. I think that's a little bit weak, but I'm not going to select the Bad Wolf one. I'm going to go for I'm going to go for the Torchwood.
Okay, why is that?
Because I find it a bit annoying.
Okay, sorry, I was just had to go somewhere, and this is a live stream, so the sort of the live thing sort of limits us sometimes. So you find the Torchwood story arc annoying?
Yeah, I just think it's a bit weak. You know, it's as if somebody came up with a clever idea of that Torchwood is the anagram of Doctor Who, and therefore just went with it. And
yeah, some people would disagree with you there.
Yeah, they probably would, but that's my thought. Is it? Are we plugged in or not?
Yes. Okay. Apologies for this. Have you got anything else to say on that, or should I think
I've got some things which will come on from it in a minute, but no, go for your bad.
Okay, my bad is the hybrid story arc.
Oh yeah.
Because it was just a bit of a mess.
Wasn't it? It didn't really mean anything.
It was a mess because it didn't go anywhere, it didn't mean anything, and it was really annoying. And I think it was one of the weakest points. If I was going to say too good, too bad for Series 9 as a whole, I would say that the hybrid would be one of them. Because this whole series built up to something really massive that we thought was going to happen in the finale. However, the finale didn't really solve the problem, and that was one of the many errors of Hellbent, because there were quite a lot of errors in Hellbent.
Yeah, the stupid thing about it is, though, that it was quite good.
Yeah, true.
It just raised too many questions, such as, for years, people have obviously given a toss about this hybrid, but why had we never heard of it before?
Yeah, true.
Why did it just suddenly become an issue?
Yeah,
it just had a really, really poor resolution, didn't it?
I suppose you could say that with things like Torchwood, where we hadn't heard about Torchwood for all these years, and we haven't really heard about it since.
No,
about Series 4 sort of time, apart from in the Torchwood series.
Yeah.
So, as you said before, they could have just brung Unit back into the series, which they'd already done, basically.
I still can't get my head around why we didn't. I'm sorry, I'm just interrupting. I don't think you've got any power on, have you?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. It says it's charging.
Yes, it's charging. Okay, sorry about that, folks.
Yeah. Okay. Just the screen looked dark, so I assume.
Yes. Now, there's the most recent story arc of Doctor Who we talked about a little bit, but the Vault. What do you think were the problems of the Vault story arc?
It was predictable.
Yep.
And it was over before it started.
Yeah, you could have just prolonged it until episode 12 or something of the series.
Yeah.
However, Stephen didn't want to make us wait that long, but I think he needed to until about episode 8 when Live the Land, which could have been the perfect reveal.
But can I ask a sort of linked question to this then? So the story arc in that season wasn't particularly strong.
Yeah.
Albeit that people generally seem to quite like that season.
Yeah, I like the series.
The finale itself was probably the best finale we've had in New Who.
I think the finale was the best finale by far.
So it begs the question, do we actually need a story arc?
I think we need something to link together the stories. But I
don't think the last season needed a story arc.
I don't think so, because it was sort of all standalone stories and everything, and I think it would have been fantastic if they just left it alone. Because the Vault story arc, apart from Missy coming out of it, you didn't need all of that. You could have just introduced Missy, and then sort of have... I mean, the story arc could have even been, say, if John Sims' thing wasn't spoiled, then if John Sim turned up at the end of the first episode, and then have that as a mini storyline, like, what is the Master up to?
Yeah.
And then complete that in the last episode.
They could definitely have done something around the Cybermen again. I guess they had already done that a little bit with the whole Missy one, hadn't they? But
correct,
with the tears and everything.
Yeah.
I'm undecided though. I think often the story arcs seem to just stink of people trying to be overly clever.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
I like the idea, rightly or wrongly, of what we've talked about a few times, that perhaps the next series of Doctor Who will be a single story or a real close linked story that runs through a whole series of 10 episodes. Whether it is or not, who knows? But but I would rather that. I like the approach of, what we said about it before.
Chris Chibnall knows to add to.
Yeah. But I like the way that we get things like Stranger Things. We get the Netflix various Netflix series that all work on this strong story. I don't know. Star Trek, is that a single story? Or
it is a serialized thing. I wish it wasn't, because it would work much better without being a serialized story.
Okay, well that's the thing, see, because I think Doctor Who could work really well.
I was sort of agreeing with you about the serialized thing a touch, but now I've watched Star Trek Discovery, I know it completely failed in terms of being a serialized project, so it needed to be individual stories, I think.
What makes you think that?
It's just I'm getting bored. 15 episodes of the same story, and the Klingons are just in every episode. It's getting boring, samey, and everyone's thinking so.
Yeah.
And it's just annoying.
It's interesting though, isn't it? I mean, anyone that knows me through the podcast, I think I've referred before that when I grew up, I was a really big 2000 AD fan.
Yeah.
And they used to do, obviously it's comic strips rather than serialization, but they used to do big epic adventures periodically with Judge Dredd.
Yeah.
And those used to work quite well because they would have a single story, but in many ways it was like loads of stories entwined.
I'd be happy with that, but I just think if they're going to make it the same story as a whole, I just think it would be a bit weak.
Yeah.
But if you have separate stories, I think Series 10 mainly worked because it was all standalone stories, and it brought Doctor Who back to when it was most popular, I believe.
Yeah.
Apart from the Monk trilogy, when it all turned around. And
well, I'm going to ask you then, in terms of what makes a story arc.
Yep.
2 good things or 2 bad things about story arcs.
I would say 2 good things. One of my good would be, I think I like the fact that the whole series is linked, and I like it when it links heavily to the finale, and you're starting to think in episode 1 and starting to piece the pieces together. And I like that you're piecing the pieces together, and you start to get to know what episode 12 or 13, whatever the finale will be, will add up to. And I think it's great to have theories and stuff, and I believe that piecing the series together without having it being the same story throughout the whole series makes it a very interesting concept.
Okay, my good will be an extension of that. So you could argue it's the same point.
Yeah.
But I
Of
will
course.
argue it in a slightly different way. Which my good would be that in a series where it's all single stories, what it does is provide the opportunity to come up with cliffhangers.
True.
Which otherwise you wouldn't.
That's true.
Cliffhangers are a really important thing about why you tune in next week, which is
Yeah.
one of the arguments for why I would like to see Doctor Who as a serialisation.
Yeah, like Classic Who, I suppose.
Yeah.
My bad. I think would have to be the fact that usually the story arc is not needed in a series, and you might as well just go without it at some series. And there have been a few where it's had light touches of story arc, but it hasn't really had a full story arc. I think it may work if we don't have a story arc in the future, to a certain extent. But it does work sometimes. But I think after the last few series, I think it feels that it doesn't feel too necessary, and they should only do it if there's a real point, and don't feel the need to just have a story arc whatsoever.
Yeah. I think my bad would be, again, sort of a little bit linked to that, but I just think they've run out of ideas with them, to be
Me
honest.
too, yeah.
I think they just seem excuse me. It seems a little element of clutching at straws to try and think of, we must have a story arc to it.
Yeah, that's true.
And actually they don't really.
No, they
Don't really
don't.
need it at all.
Most series don't, no. That's
So
true.
a final question to ask before we move on, because
Yeah.
time's getting on. Who do you think does story arcs better? Russell T Davies or Stephen Moffat?
As a whole, I'm going to say, even though we've said 2 story arcs from Stephen Moffat era in the Too Good, of the Too Good, Too Bad section,
Yeah.
I believe that Stephen Moffat, in the grand scheme of things, is weaker at making story arcs than Russell T Davies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't think I agree. I just think that Stephen Moffat's early ones are very good.
They are, yeah.
I
I
think the
just
whole
think
thing
they've
around
just lapped down in the last few years.
The Crack one was quite good. I think the whole thing with Clara, I think, was quite effective.
He just had consistent story arcs, though. So
Yeah.
I think all of his story arcs are pretty okay.
Yeah.
I'm
Apart from the
pretty
first,
happy.
I don't like Marty. I'm not sure I like RTDs.
Don't you?
No.
Well, they're quite different. Well, they're sort of more like words or buildings or something.
Yeah.
What about the He Will Knock 4 Times one?
I just don't really like them. I don't like any of his story arcs. I don't think. I
Oh,
can't think of
don't
a
you?
story arc of his I like.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. I quite like the Bad Wolf one. I thought that. But there were points where it felt unnecessary to put it in. But I like that it was hidden in different ways in the story.
Yeah.
I really found that quite intriguing.
Yeah. Okay, then, as I say, time's getting on. So
Yeah.
we've only got about 5-10 minutes left. So we probably need to crack on with our review.
Yes, we have to.
Which is...
Oh, of the long game. So, the long game. Basically, last week, we said that we were going to be watching Mordred Undead. We will be watching Mordred Undead on next week's show. However, this week, we have watched the long game so that we could fit it in on our busy schedule for last week.
Yeah, because we weren't around on Saturday, which is hence why there was no show, so we didn't have an opportunity to watch it. So cracking on with the story, it's a TARDIS trio in this instance because we've got the Doctor, as in Christopher Eccleston, we've got Rose, and we got Adam, who we first met in Dalek.
Yep.
And they arrive at this
your favourite episode.
Yeah, they arrive at this space station. Years 200,000, and basically everything's really super duper, but it's not working in the same way as the Doctor actually remembers it. So he gives Adam and Rose some credits to get themselves some food and things whilst he walks around to this new station, and he meets a couple of people, including this reporter who basically sort of explains to him about the giant broadcasting tower that's sending out messages all across Earth. And all of the people these sort of reporters have all got this sort of communication device where it's something implanted into their heads, which beams news directly to them so that they can pass it on to the wider public. Excuse me, I got a bit of a sore throat, so I'm struggling a little bit. what they don't realise is that, well, I think the Doctor starts to realise there's a few fishy things going on. So there's not any of the alien life he's expecting to see there that should be there at this period in time.
Correct.
And he starts thinking that actually the human race is, rather than evolving it, to quote Alan Partridge, I think. So he sort of immediately starts trying to work out exactly what it is that's actually gone wrong. Whilst he's trying to do that with the help of these two ladies that he's met, Adam, being a very inquisitive, basically starts trying to use some of the technology that they've got in this world to find out things that will financially benefit him in times to come. Ends up with one of these transmitter implants embedded into his head so that it arrives at the click of a finger. And in the meantime, the Doctor, I'm sort of trying to hurry this along a little bit, the Doctor and Rose discover that top of this transmitter there's this guy, Simon Peggs, editor, and he's working on behalf of this large alien, big fat alien whose name I can't remember off the top of my head.
Jaguar Face.
Yeah, and that's effectively controlling the human race.
Yes.
And that is probably as much as I'm going to
Should we just give our brief thoughts and not go into Too Good, Too Bad?
Yeah, could do that.
Yeah, okay. So you can still score it now.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
I think we can still do a Too Good, Too Bad if we're quick.
I don't want to rush it.
Okay.
Let's just discuss our proper thoughts on the episode. What did you think of The Long Game?
Do you know, I know people generally think it's a bit of a throwaway episode, but I think probably what it does do is it's clear it's one of the weaker episodes in this series, but it demonstrates actually it's probably better than a lot of the series episodes that we've had since. So it shows the strength of that first series.
The first series is perhaps my favourite series of Doctor Who in the revived series because of its consistency. Boomtown, we need to watch that again. Probably come up quite soon, but I'd be intrigued to watch that again because I'm not really sure of the quality of that one, but it is the weakest episode of series 1 in my opinion. But
off the top of your head, if you'd been asked, the two weakest episodes, you probably would have said this one, The Long Game, and Boomtown, wouldn't you? But actually, The Long Game's it's a good episode.
Yeah, I know.
It's got some really good things about it. Simon Pegg's really good in it. I like his character. I like the idea of the big alien controlling the Earth.
Yeah.
I like the backstory with Adam, and you see a different sort of side to him, and you realise that actually the Doctor won't just take anybody on his adventures in space and time. He'll take the best. He'll take those that fit in with what he's trying to do, and obviously, in this instance, Adam demonstrates that wherever they take him, he'd probably be out for himself. Yes,
true. The selfish old tart.
And it's got some good humour in it as well, hasn't it? The last sequence when they return back to Earth and Doctor refuses to take him away again in TARDIS, and then his mum comes in and clicks her fingers and that antenna, I think, comes out.
I always like that sequence. And I think it's a rather... I think my thoughts on the episode, I think it's quite an intriguing episode, and I would agree with you that it is one of the weaker episodes of Series 2, of Series 1, but that's not saying anything because, there's some really fantastic episodes in Series 1, and this isn't a bad episode. It probably wouldn't reach a good standard. I mean, we'll discuss where it would rank, but I think it's a decent episode that is not throwaway. It's just not an episode that would reach your classic section of the show.
But it's a lot better than your average throwaway episode.
Yeah, correct. It's sort of the average sort of filler episode in terms of it could be a typical episode 2, but if it was a typical episode 2, it'd be one of the better ones.
I'm not a big lover of the resolution.
What? Oh yes.
With the way that they defeat.
I'm not a big lover of
the monster, but having said that, it doesn't offend me.
No.
But I like the build up to it. I like the build up very much. I like the way that you've got all these corpses there operating.
Yeah. I like that.
I like the whole.
Quite entertaining.
Yeah, I like the lies, the misleading stuff as to what promotion actually really means.
Yeah. That's true, and I think it's got some really intriguing concepts in this episode.
Yeah, and at this stage, Rose is a really good companion. I think she
is.
did work really, really well with Christopher Eccleston.
She just doesn't work as well in the later eras of Doctor Who.
Not with Tennant, I don't think.
No. No. Okay. Should we do our scores?
Yeah.
Okay, so scores on the doors. First of all, monsters out of 10.
Monsters, I don't think you can give it too high a score for monsters because the monster's not really that important to it. So I'm probably give it a 6.
Okay. Pace.
Good pace to it, I think. I will give it a 7 for pace.
And that is excitement.
7. It's not really exciting, but it's got its moments.
Story.
I really like the story. I might give it an 8 for story. You know.
Okay.
I like the idea.
Threat.
Probably a 7.
Okay, then that gives it a 35 out of 50, which is a decent score for an episode, and possibly the average score for an episode. Out of 10, what would you give
I'm
it?
going to give it. I might be being harsh. I might review this again when I look at my comparative scores for other episodes, but I'm going to say it's probably somewhere around about 6.8, something like that.
I'm going to give it a 6.9 because that is my typical sort of average, just above average throwaway episode.
Yeah.
So, decent score for that one.
Well, as we mentioned, so moving on a little bit, we don't need to press the randomizer this week because we pressed it already.
Yep.
And we pressed it and we got Mordred Undead, or whatever it's called.
And we're so sorry to rush the show, folks. It's just for various reasons we've had to.
It won't happen again.
It won't happen again. And next week, do not fear, we'll be back to normal.
Boring you with our waffle for a whole hour and a half.
Yeah. So we'll be back next week, same time, same space. We don't say that.
So what do we have on next week's show?
So next week on episode 237 of Doctor Who Time and Space, we are going to be discussing, should we do Classic Who and New Who Masters separately, or should we do them all at once?
Whatever you want.
What do you think?
All at once.
Okay, next week we'll be discussing the Master, and we'll be ranking the incarnations of the Master.
We'll also be reviewing Mordred Undead.
Yes, which should be interesting.
Episode.
Yeah, we'll be discussing the latest news and views.
And we will be pressing the magic randomizer.
Oh, I'm so looking forward to that. It's a shame it's such a long time away.
It is, yeah. A few
So
days.
we'll be back on Saturday again for another show on Podomatic. You could get hold of us at Twitter at drwho, time as in N, space.
You can also look out for tweets for Too Good, Too Bad.
You can listen to our podcast on Podomatic at Doctor Who Time and Space, iTunes, the Doctor Who Podcast Alliance, Miss Lewis Mean Adventures.weebly.com, and the Miss Lewis Mean YouTube account.
Thank you very much, everybody, for listening. We're going to have to dash very, very quickly.
Yes, thank you for listening, folks. We will see you next time. Same time.
Same space.
Goodbye.